Welcome to the Truvisionaries 2026. Today I'm joined by Paul Anderson. Paul, how are you, my friend?
I'm very, very well, and all the better for seeing you, Leo.
Well, let's ask you the three rapid-fire questions our audience are dying to know the answer to. Paul, tell us, how and why did you get started in short-term rentals?
So I actually fell into hospitality off the back of the 2008 recession. So I've been living and working out in Brazil for about 4 years as a project manager. I was building condominiums, renovating bars and other hospitality businesses. And then the recession hit, the money all dried up. And at the same time, my parents wanted to downsize. So they asked me, can we move into your bungalow? And I said, yes. And much to my mother's relief, because when I arrived in South America, it was originally for about a 6-month backpacking trip. I said I wanted to come back to England and I wanted to turn the family home into a guest house. So we essentially swapped. So they moved into my bungalow just around the corner and I came home with a, dare I say, a plan. So I had no prior experience of running a guest house or a bed and breakfast, but I knew how to do the basics properly. Minor renovations, I got the electrical cert signed off, fire signed off, put a sign out the front and opened the doors in June of 2009. And it's worth saying, back then, OTAs hadn't really started the growth, so it was all booked direct. So I bought a fax machine, I bought a dedicated phone line, which sounds prehistoric now, but at the time, that was the setup. And marketing was mostly lumpy, so didn't have Instagram marketing, didn't have automated anything really. So I was literally pounding pavement with homemade trifold brochures. I targeted local hospitals, Oxford University colleges, the local tourist information centre, and anyone who might point me in our direction. Then my dad, he taught himself JavaScript because he was retired, getting a little bit bored, and we built a website with a contact us form that sent me a pro forma email. And at the time, that was state of the art. Most people thought I was bonkers because the guest house had just 2 double en suites and 4 single rooms. And I had a mattress on the ground floor at the back with a basin. So to wash, I'd keep one guest shower until last. I'd use it myself and then clean it down on the way out. And people were predominantly telling me, you're bonkers. You don't have enough double rooms. But it turned out that the singles were exactly what the market needed. People visiting friends and relatives in hospital, they don't want a double room. They want somewhere clean, somewhere warm, somewhere safe to put their head down while they're visiting, I don't know, husbands having stents or wives having hip hops or delivering babies. And around the same time, TripAdvisor was becoming a thing. So I got Sandfield Guest House registered, and fairly quickly we rose to the top guest house in the city out of about 80 something. And that was my first taste of what the internet could do. The idea that someone on the other side of the world could find us, go to my website, send me an email or a fax, genuinely blew my mind, and I was hooked. So everything after that was trial and error. And what I'd learned project managing and in Brazil had helped enormously, because unexpected problems will always happen. The Wi-Fi will go down, the hot water will run out, you'll burn someone's breakfast. But it's how you handle them that makes all the difference. So if we put ourselves in our guest shoes, keep them at ease, and then go above and beyond to make it right, that's what earns trust. And it's trust that brings people back time and time again.
You're bound to have a very good answer for this then. Tell us, what's the one thing that hosts aren't doing that they should start doing today?
Well, I'd set my stall out as a marketing expert, and most hosts are creating social media content without thinking about the route to convert interest and attention into bookings. So if we take Instagram, everyone says you need to do Instagram. So a host or a property manager will open an account, fill in the profile with a few details, and then start guessing what to post. People start sharing nice pictures with maybe a few words. But what most hosts haven't done is the foundational work. They don't really know who their perfect potential guest is. So they end up with a scattergun content strategy and a profile that speaks to no one in particular. So sure, they might get likes, they might get comments, might even get good reach. But people forget that the job of social media marketing is to move the right people to a place where they can actually book. And you can't book accommodation on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or X or Threads. These platforms are at the top of the funnel. They're not the checkout. So if our profiles don't grab the right guest's attention and give them a clear next step, we're not marketing. We've just got a time-consuming, potentially expensive hobby. So my advice to every host and property manager who's trying or wanting to use social media to drive footfall to a website or a booking platform is to define your perfect potential guest, to be precise about who you're trying to attract and target them in everything that you do. And then to turn our profiles from bottlenecks into booking portals. So one clear, who is this for line? Maybe 2 or 3 specific kind of proof or benefit points that are matched to those perfect potential guests that we actually want. And then one obvious next step. So a link and maybe some wording that will tell people what will happen when they click that link. And then on Instagram specifically, add 3-pin posts that add as a billboard, key unique selling points that speak directly to that perfect potential guest. Because if marketing isn't moving the right people along their booking journey and down the funnel, you're burning time and we're burning money creating content that just isn't going to convert.
Again, Paul, fantastic advice that. And tell us, with the crystal ball out, what do you think looking at 2020 and beyond? Where's the industry heading?
The big shift that I'm seeing that will play throughout 2026 and beyond is that artificial intelligence, AI, is making content creation ridiculously efficient. And a lot of people are using that efficiency to take shortcuts that feel productive, but shortcuts that don't actually lead anywhere meaningful. So now we can generate 30 captions in an hour. We can batch a month of posts in one afternoon. And on paper, that looks like marketing momentum. But if the human decisions haven't been made first, who we're for, what we're not, who do we want to host, what do we stand for, what do we want people to do after seeing our content and our profile, and why should they trust us, then AI is just helping us publish bland content that blends into the noise. We're just doing it faster. Digital marketing needs to create signal. It needs to create signal that cuts through the noise and this enormous wave of AI slop that's already pretty much all over us. So the pattern that I'm seeing is that hosts and property managers are outsourcing their agency. They're letting AI decide what to say, how to say it, and what actually matters. And the result is essentially content that's technically fine, but it could have been posted by anyone for anyone. It doesn't sound like our brands, it doesn't feel grounded, and it doesn't build the trust required for a confident next step from a guest. So even the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, has gone public about this. He's been very, very clear that AI is making authenticity harder to trust. So the phrase he used is that authenticity is becoming infinitely reproducible. So in other words, even the raw aesthetic can be faked at scale. So the differentiator isn't polished versus unpolished, it's whether there's a real person or a real brand behind it with consistency, with context, and with credibility. So hosts and property managers shouldn't stop using AI. I love AI. I genuinely use it all the time, dozens of times every single day. I think the response to the flood of AI-generated content isn't to opt out. It's to stop using AI to dodge the difficult parts, the human parts, and start reconnecting with a person, essentially one other person on the other side of a screen. And we can do that in 3 ways. We can do that by keeping the human decisions human. So decide who your perfect potential guest is, focus your efforts on them, define what you or your business stands for, your values, your boundaries, and then use AI like an employee to add efficiency to the execution. Second way is using AI for speed after we've set a direction. So drafting, remixing, structuring, repurposing, tightening copy. AI is amazing at that. We just need to make sure that it's working inside our intent and not inventing it on our behalf. And finally, putting yourself and your brand back into the marketing. Don't be afraid to be visible. Have a point of view. Sound like a real person. In an AI-saturated feed, being unabashedly you isn't a nice to have. It's absolutely going to be the advantage of 2026 and beyond. AI can make you faster, but if you hand it the steering wheel, you'll get a lot of movement with no meaningful destination.
Paul, absolutely wonderful advice, my friend. Thank you so much.